Infinite Spirit gives me wisdom to make most of my opportunities. I am always under direct inspiration. I know what to do and give instant obedience to my intuitive leads. All power is given unto me to be meek and lowly of heart. I'm willing to come to my good here and now. I am under and surrounded and guided by the light of the God within me, through which nothing negative can penetrate. I walk in the light of the God within me, and my fear giants dwindle into nothingness. There is nothing that can oppose my good. There is no loss of memory in divine mind. Therefore, I recollect everything that I should remember and forget all that is not for my good. And so it is. Thank you for tuning in to the Millionaires of the Bible call. I want to thank you for being on this call. My name is Issachar Bey. I am the spiritual director of the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center. And I want to thank you for being on this call this morning. We want to thank you because we understand and know that consciousness is our only reality. We begin to understand the indwelling of the God within us, that we can be, do, and have all that our minds and our hearts desire. Now unto him that is able to do all things but fail, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thine sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. We are now entering into the 6th chapter of the prosperity journey of our dear friend Joshua. Millionaires of the Bible series. We're still in the book, the Joshua book, the orange book with the gold star on the front. And we are entering into the 6th chapter this morning. From those of you that are following us, we want to thank you for being a part of this great journey that we're on. Every week it gets higher and higher. We get into more truths and understandings and get a deeper understanding of our prosperity journal prosperity journey as we elevate and continue to expand our minds in the millionaire's consciousness. And so I'm delighted and I'm excited about us moving and moving forward in our journey in our millionaire consciousness. We have now got to the place where we just came out of learning how to claim our prosperous Jericho. We came out of that last week, and now we're moving forward, into what to do when your prosperity is withheld. We're going to be talking about that today, and we're going to be looking into the book of Joshua, the 8th chapter. You can actually read that chapter. I didn't put that chapter on the call notes because of the length of the chapter, but when you get a chance, you can read it. We are now entering into the 6th chapter where the Hebrews had taken the city of Jericho, and they had no implications. They had no signs of getting into a war. Here they are now, enjoying the victory. And so now they were getting ready to embark on the town of Ai. Yet, when they begin to come into Ai, it was a town just, I would say, a short distance away, up in the hills. Joshua sent some of his men out, and they began to go forward into the town of Ai. Just to give you a little bit of the backstory of what happened. So the men began to go out, and it showed here that they were defeated. Joshua and his men says that 36 of their men were dead. It was a crushing defeat. Joshua became concerned, and I would say a little bit bewildered, because he had just come off of conquering and taking Jericho, and now he comes in to now take Ai, and already right away they were defeated. I want to let you know that and say this: all things work together for the good of them that love him and are called according to his purpose. Whenever you are getting ready to move into a level of manifestation and a level of transformation, and you're getting ready to go in and take which that you know what was yours, what was promised, you got to get to the place where you realize that all things work together for the good. You also, this is a lesson that we learned today, you have to be very careful of who you take with you. You got to be very careful of the people that you surround yourself with and the people that you have in your camp. Because what we're going to find out is that everybody can't go where you're going. Everybody is not in the same mindset, the same level of consciousness. Everybody is not in the same, it has the same destination. Everybody is not trying to go where you're going. Some people are just trying to get what they can get. Some people are just trying to see as far as they can get, as much as they can get from you. Some people are there to really, they're there because of envy, because of jealousy. And some people may be there to try to block you or try to stop you from getting to your promised land. So you got to be very careful of the people that you have surrounding you. It's very crucial that you take a stand to that, because here Joshua began to, say, what happened? I'm not understanding. We just had a victory. We went in, we did what we were supposed to do. We conquered Jericho, and now we see here that we've been defeated. And so what had happened was one of the men in Joshua's camp had disobeyed what is what's called the traditional ancient law. It was a man by the name of Achan. He took the silver and gold as well as the elegant robe of fine silk, and he hid them in his tent. So when they went in to do this is what Achan did. And so what happened was, at this time, Joshua was confused. Anytime that you feel like you've been defeated, you feel like everything is going wrong, you've just had a victory, now it seems like things are not going as planned. We've said this before. In this situation, you never want to get so frustrated or so that you get off course, that you allow your life to get off balance. But what you want to do is you want to learn how to make adjustments when things don't go according to plan, when there seems to be some mishaps, some hiccups, some things that are not going according to what you laid out in the plan. We have to learn how to make adjustments. We will see the kind of adjustments that Joshua and his camp are going to make. We have to learn how to make adjustments. Why? Because adjustments let us know that we're still on the same road leading to the promised land, but the way or the plan that we had in place, we may have to alter it and make certain adjustments, but we're still aiming for the same target. We're still aiming for the same place that we're going. And so Joshua began to say, God, I need some guidance. I need to hear from you. I'm perplexed. I'm bewildered. I feel lost and confused because I don't understand why we were defeated. Why is this happening to me at such a time? You've often heard people say that, it seems like as soon as something great happens, it seems like something negative or something bad happens right away, right? They always say, it seems like if I go 2 steps or 3 steps forward, it seems like I get knocked 5 steps back, right? But in the midst of that, we're going to learn how to prevent those things from happening, and then we're also going to learn what needs to be done in consciousness, that we don't allow ourselves to be connected to people, places, or things that are not for the benefit of us. Achan is the man who stole the silver and the gold and the fine robes. Achan was one of the men that Joshua had in his camp. And the word Achan means troublesome. It means covetousness, means to take somebody else's possession, to take something that's not yours, right? And it always connects you to trouble and sorrow, right? And it actually metaphysically means those who let it dominate their thoughts and actions, right? So we have to learn how to not allow ourselves to be Achan, to move into that mindset, that level of consciousness, because we don't want the trouble and sorrow to dominate our thoughts and sorrow and actions. By doing that, what Achan did, he disobeyed the traditional ancient law. This law was a serious law that you do not take what's not yours. And because he did that, that's the reason why Joshua and his camp were defeated. It seems like now Joshua's at a place now where he feels like his prosperity has been withheld. Because here you have a people who have went from bondage into the wilderness. From the wilderness, they've crossed over to Jordan. They're moving and operating. They're moving into the promised land. Everything that was promised is beginning to unfold. And now we see that there happens to be a hiccup here, because out of everything that's flowing, now we're getting to a place where things are not going according to plan. When your good is withheld from you, it is something like you operating in the Achan consciousness. You are withholding something you should be giving. By withholding, you have stopped up the channels through which more good can come to you. See, when you withhold or take something that's not yours, or you withhold something that you actually are supposed to release, you block the channels from the good and from everything that's going to come to you. You block those channels of different avenues, of different mediums and ways and streams of which good can enter into your life. And so you have to be very careful of what you're holding on to that you may need to release. We'll see a couple examples here today about how to release the good. Don't hold on to things that you should have released. A lot of times, I often tell people all the time that giving is actually receiving, because you can't receive anything with a closed fist. But if I'm giving, I'm going to open my hands to reach out to give. But at the same time, my hands is open because I just released. But at the same time, in the release, I'm also able to receive because my hands are open to receive. You can never receive anything with a closed fist. So now, Joshua begins to understand that they were in a position, he now knows what happened about his prosperity, his prosperous good being withheld. It seems like sometimes in life, You ever hear the story when people say all the time, man, things is real tight around here, man, something's got to give. I've heard people say it all the time, man, I remember that time of my life when things got really tight and it seems like I couldn't find a way out, and, bills were piling up and things were getting crazy. And I was saying to myself, man, this is crazy. Something has got to give. Something has got to happen to get me out of this situation. And I like to say, as we're looking here now, when Joshua says, when things were getting tight, someone has to give. Guess what? That someone is you. The need to give in order to restore balance and order in your mind, in your body, in your financial affairs, and in your relationships. When you learn how to give, your giving will change your circumstantial situation. There's a power and a science to giving. When we learn how to give, we understand and know that our giving can change the trajectory of our lives, of our situations, and our circumstances just by giving. Giving changes everything, because giving is there is a blessing in releasing giving, to give, to let go of. As a man soweth, that shall he also reap. There is a blessing in it. Abraham had observed the prosperity power of tithing that had put upon him and made him wealthy. His doubt, he received the specific instructions from Melchizedek. And after giving the tenth of all that he had to Melchizedek, Abraham, the father of many nations, received the promise of protection and prosperity from God, the kind that was fit for a millionaire. We see here in Genesis 15:1, it says, "Fear not, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward." Abraham understood the power of tithing. Tithing was one of the ways that Joshua and his camp were able to get out of the situation that they were in. The mistake that was made by that Achan, they were able to transform and change their circumstances. One of the things that they learned how to do was tithe. Tithe means to give a tenth of what you have. And when you release that tenth, what happens is, as it says, Melchizedek says, every time you tithe, God will provide protection, which means that you will forever be protected and that you will receive prosperity. The kind of prosperity that's fit for a millionaire. When you tithe, you will receive divine universal protection. Protection that you don't see, the protection that protects your mind, your heart, your body, your mind, your body and soul. But you know that if you are protected inwardly on a spiritual connotation, that inward protection has to be mirrored out into your outer reality. He says that he's going to give you prosperity. The prosperity he's giving you is the spiritual laws of prosperity, the prosperity mindset, the consciousness of prosperity, that you will be able to manifest prosperity in the intangible realm, because he understood and knew that whatever I can get you to do in the intangible on the spiritual side, it will therefore be played out in the outer world, in your physical reality. For when we do that, as we just went over in Genesis 15:1, he's going to shield. He's going to be a shield to protect us. And then he's going to be an exceeding great reward. When you tithe, you're not giving your last and your least. You're giving your first and your best. You're giving will make you rich. Your giving will put you before great men. Your giving will open doors that you never would have thought could be open. Your giving will put you in the right place at the right time to meet right people. Your giving will allow you to set up your family, your generations after generations. It's something very magical about giving. It's something very sacred, but very transformational about giving. How when one gives, their lives have been changed. When one gives, stories and different things are coming into an effect. I've heard preachers, even some pastors and bishops I know. I heard a bishop one time tell a story about how he was looking for a building to have his services in, and he couldn't find a building. He was using public schools. He was using high schools. He was using boys and girls clubs, gymnasiums. He was using many different facilities to have his services in. And as he began to look at buildings and sit down and try to draw up and put a deal together, everything fell apart. It seems like every time they would get ready to get a building, it never happened. It fell apart. One day he was at a service and they asked for a seed of $3,000. He went in to sow the seed, but what happened was he didn't have the whole seed. He found out that he didn't have to have the whole seed, but that he can pay on it until he paid it off. And so he says, oh, perfectly, I'll do that. And he said, little, hold of what you know, lo and behold, he says that it was after he paid off the $3,000 seed, it was at that moment where he found the building that he's now in, which is a marvelous edifice. It's wonderful. It looks almost like a palace. But he was able to get that, he said, after he sold and paid off the $3,000 seed. Something very magical about giving. Something very magical about giving. I've heard many stories of how people were able to give their way out of circumstances and situations and begin to sow and begin to give out and sow. You sow your way to success. You sow your way to abundance. You sow your way into health. So it's something about giving that revolutionizes your life. It transforms your life like nothing before. And I think when we begin to look at that and don't become afraid of it, not about what we have or don't have, but when we understand the divine principles of it and begin to embrace it and take it in and apply it to our lives, you'll see some great manifestations happen. You'll see some things really begin to unfold. And I can't wait until we get into the Millionaires of the Bible series when we get to the Nazareth. I can't wait till we get there because there's so many things that I want to tell you that will correlate with all of this together. But we're almost there. We will be jumping in on there, I believe, on August the 8th. So I'm really looking forward to that. And those of you that want to go ahead and get that book, it's going to be a yellow book with a gold star, the Millionaire of the Bible series, Nazareth. And we'll be talking about the master teacher, Jesus. So Achan, according to the law, he and his entire family were stoned to death. Their tents, all of their possessions was destroyed. They took the ancient law very serious back then. And you can't take somebody else's stuff. You can't, stealing was wrong, taking other people's stuff. And what happened was, we have to understand that in those times, when one person did something, it affected the whole camp. So by his breaking the law, Joshua and the entire camp was defeated. That's why you got to be very careful of who you bring with you, who you have in your camp, who you have in your circle. You have to be very careful, because what they do can affect where you're going. It can hinder you. It can put you in a situation where you now, as Joshua has to do, he has to make an adjustment. But guess what? As I said earlier, all things work together for the good of them. All things. And in this situation, we're learning one of the greatest techniques of all time, one of the greatest adjustments, is that he's learning in this moment the adjustment on giving, the tithe, right? You cannot cheat God without cheating yourself. You can't take something away or steal something from somebody else. You're actually stealing from yourself when you steal. When you withhold from God's treasury, you fill out your own good. When you take away from God, you take away from yourself. And when you steal, you're actually hindering and killing your own good. We have to learn how to move into a level of release, putting ourselves in the position to elevate and move into what God is calling us to do, to release the 10th. The 10th is a 10% of what we bring in, the 10% of what we gather in that we are to release to him, the 10%. 10, that number 10, the tithe represents the 10th. And the number 10 actually is the number of transformation. It's the number of shift. And whenever you sow the tithe, or whenever you release the tithe, bring the tithe into the storehouse. When you release the tithe, you're releasing the 10th. Something very magical about that 10th, because the number 10th is the number of shift. It's a shifting. It's a transformational number. It's a number that once you release that 10th, things begin to shift and move, and doors that were closed begin to open. Situations where you thought there was no way made, all of a sudden a way comes forward. There's always a way out. And I can't wait. I don't know why the universe had me go this way. And what I mean by that is, we really should have started the Millionaire Bible series with Genesis, right? With the green book, with the gold star. But when I begin to meditate and begin to realize that I wanted to go this way, Spirit had me go with the book of Joshua, right? But when we go back to the Millionaire Genesis, what we're going to do is, when you begin to realize that God will always give you an exit. When we start looking at Moses and them in the book of Exodus, when they were in bondage, you would realize that whatever situation you are in, the God in you will always provide a way of exit out of whatever circumstance that you're in. And if you've ever been in a building, if you've ever been in any facility or any church or anywhere where it's a public building or public facility, you always see the exit signs are lit. Why? Because no matter what happens, you need to know where the exits are. You need to, in case of an emergency, in case anything happens, you must know where the exits are. I used to be a security manager for the MGM Grand back in Las Vegas. This is before I moved to San Antonio. And many a times the fire marshals would come to my building, to our casino. And what they would do is, I myself would have to go and check all of the fire extinguishers, make sure that all of them were up to date, make sure that they were all in compliance according to code. But what I had to also do is, every now and then the fire marshals will come and check. And me and him, the fire marshal, will walk the whole place, and we would go to every exit, because he wanted to make sure that at any given time, if anything ever happens, there was nothing blocking the exits. The people will be able to get out, and there was nothing blocking the exits. That he wanted to make sure there was nothing withholding or hindering his prosperity, or hindering, or what we would say, the people from getting out. When you withhold what you're supposed to let go of, you're blocking the exits. You're blocking your good from coming in. Because guess what? An exit is also an entrance. What you walk away from will determine what you're going to walk into. Every exit is an entrance. When you release the tithe, some of you may say, oh, that's an exit. I'm releasing. I'm letting this money go. I'm giving out this money. But you don't realize that that exit, now that you released it, will turn into an entrance. And that by releasing that 10th, you're allowing the funds to come. As we always say, we don't believe in spending, because in the word spend is the word end, E-N-D. We know how to circulate, because what happens is when we circulate, it comes back to us 100-fold. The prophet Malachi, he promised unlimited prosperity and protection to those who died, who tithe. And you can look at that in Malachi 3 and 10. Protection and unlimited prosperity. Protection is one of the most sacred things we have, and I'll tell you why. Most people consider protection to be something that we feel protected because we're in a facility. We have a lock. Our doors are locked. We may have a firearm. We may have people in the house. So we feel protected. We feel secure because can't nobody come in and hinder us, right? That's what we feel. But protection is a little bit more deeper than that, because you need to be mostly protected spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, more so than you do physically. Because if you're protected psychologically, emotionally, mentally, you will be protected physically. You know, people always say all the time, I've heard people say, I want to make sure that I'm secure. I want job security. I want to make sure I'm financially secure. Security, protection, right? And so they may say, I'm going to do some things so that I can have the job security. I'm going to do this. The only job or financial security you can ever have is an intangible security. One of the ways that you can find protection, Malachi tells us, you can have that divine security and the divine protection when you tithe, when you continuously tithe. Joshua and his camp begin to understand and look at this prosperity law as a way of making an adjustment on what had happened. They begin to say, wait a minute, we can use this to change our situation and our circumstance. Yeah, we were defeated. Yeah, we took it, as they say now, we took an L. We took a loss. But we're still alive. It hasn't killed us. We're still in a good position. We can overcome. We can make an adjustment. We can reposition. We can change our destiny. We can change where we're going. We can change the outlook on the situation. Tithing can change any situation that you're in. In this chapter, it talks about a woman who needed money. She needed some money to do some things, and she didn't have any money. She was, saying, I'm going to tithe. I'm in the mindset of tithing. I understand the prosperity laws of tithing. She began to clear out. She would say, well, listen, you know what? I don't have any physical money, but what I am going to do is I'm going to give away my clothes. I'm going to give away the clothes that I don't need. I'm going to give away the things that I'm not wearing no more, because I believe that by me doing this, by me releasing and letting go of these clothes, what's going to eventually happen is that I'll be able to move and begin to elevate, and that whatever I need, the universe will provide. This is what happened. As she began to clear out her drawers and clear out the closets of clothes and different things that she no longer was going to wear, she ended up finding a check for over $11,000. And she would have never found that check had she not begin to accept, embrace, and utilize the prosperity laws of tithing. And as she began to do that, she began to get the money that she needed to elevate and go into her good that she desired. Catherine Ponder talks about here, she is the author of the Millionaires, the Bible series. She tells a great story in here as to how tithing allowed her to expand her Unity Church. And she was able to open up many churches in California. She was able to expand to 3 churches, and she was also able to take her Unity Church worldwide, make it international. I thought that was absolutely amazing. And she talks about how it became a living reality based on the tithing principle by those people who were a part of her organization that began to tithe. She was able to establish the 3 new churches. She began to connect with the New Thought Alliance. She began to really expand and go further. Why? Because the people who had been tithing were able to help her and facilitate that expansion that took place. The 10th is the shift. The 10th is the seed or the number. It is the number that connects with the shift. Being able to shift and transform. Whatever you're going through, learn how to tithe your way out of it. Learn how to release the 10th, the tithe. They talk about an example here about a woman who was married and how she was able to get her marriage back together and get it on the right track by tithing. It talks about people who didn't have any money at all was able to find money by tithing, by releasing, not withholding, but learning about the prosperity laws of the tithe, learning how to release, learning how to let go, not to hold on to that which is not good or that which is not mine. I've always said this, when you're in the right alignment, right level of consciousness, when you are connected to source, the universe will always take care of you. The universe will always take care of you once you come to the realization that I am in the right place at the right time. I'm connected to divine source. If you're listening to this call right now and you feel like you're in a jam, you're stuck, there's something going on in your life that you need to make a shift, you need to transform, you need to make this thing go a different way. I'm in a situation, I have some needs that need to be met. I need some things to be manifested. Tithe. Sow your way into the transformation that you need. Sow your way into what it is that you want to see happen. They also begin to talk about here that where you give is important. You always want to make sure that you're sowing into good ground, to good that the seed that you're sowing is in good ground. Um, I've when I was younger, my mom, growing up in New York City, we had a garden in the backyard, and although I didn't like it, she used to make us rake, clean up the dirt. We would rake up the dirt. She would show us how to get ready to plant. And right before, because we used to grow collard greens, cabbage, tomatoes, okras. We had a nice little garden. We used to grow the peppers. And so when we got ready to grow and got ready to plant, she would put down cow manure. And then that's a whole nother way on a whole nother day of what cow manure does. It's a fertilizer. And when we used to get ready to grow, there was one time that nothing would never grow there. No matter how many seeds, the fertilizer we put down, we took everything out, we re-raked it again, we did everything, and nothing would never grow in this certain area in the garden. And one day, she had somebody come over who was a professional gardener, and they began to do some tests on the soil. And what they said was, this particular part of the ground is not good soil, it's not good ground, and that's why nothing can grow in there. So that's why I'm using this analogy, this story, to say you have to be very careful of where you sow your seed, because all ground is not good ground. You want to be able to release your seed in good ground. The Mosaic law of tithing was very definitive, right? They were very definite about where you tithe, right? They taught that the first 10th went to the priest and your place of worship. They begin to teach on the second and the third tithe. The second tithe went to the festival tithe. The third tithe was a charity tithe. And what's very ironic about this is that I would say maybe about 2 years ago, maybe about a year, I say maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, Archbishop Eben R. Jordan came out with the Taroma. And a Taroma app, he has an app, it's a free app. And what it does is it shows you how to tithe and how to work with the Taroma. The Taroma shows you what portion of your earnings goes to your high priest, what portions of your earning goes to charity, and also to the poor. And so when you begin to work with that, he said that after he's been working with the Taroma, man, so many doors have opened, so many things have begun to expand. There is something very magical about giving and about releasing the 10th. Joshua and his camp were able to use tithing and beginning to release that 10th to change their situation of being able to be defeated, and now they can now make the adjustment. Whenever you're getting ready to move into your promised land and you're getting ready to possess the land and possess that which was promised to you, and you find yourself in a situation where things got tight, where things are not going according to plan, learn how to make an adjustment at any given time by tithing. There's something very magical about the tithe that will begin to change your situation and your circumstance. By releasing that good, by releasing and letting it go, you're now allowing the universe on your behalf to open doors that you never knew could be opened, to make a way out of things, out of a way that you never thought a way could be made, to open up opportunities and situations that you have never even imagined will become present and be able to be made available to you, only because you followed the ancient traditional law, prosperity law of tithing. When you come into a level of consciousness where you are now able and ready, you have no hiccups, you want to affirm, I freely give my tenth to God, and I reap a hundredfold blessing. All that the Father has for me now comes to me speedily, richly, and freely, and so it is. When we declare that we have no hiccups, that we have no negative connotations, that we are able to release, it's almost, some people will say, well, you know what, we see an example here where a woman, she made a mistake. When she got her money, she took care of everything first. She paid all her bills. She paid a car note. She paid her mortgage. She paid all her bills. And then what she did was, after it was left over, whatever was left over, she then now wanted to pay the tithe. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You have to release. Remember, it's not the last or the least. It's the first and the best. So you always want to make sure that you release your good first. Release your tithe first. And then once you do that, you set yourself up for, guess what? Unlimited prosperity and divine protection. The divine protection, the unlimited prosperity are the results of the obedience of releasing the 10th, which is the tithe. In the honor of victory, Joshua got together and began to give thanks. Because of them being able to make the adjustment to tithe, they were able to go in and successfully capture the town of Ai. So they got defeated, came out, made the adjustment. We know what happened to Achan. Him and his family, their possessions were destroyed and killed because of his disobedience to the ancient law. And so now Joshua makes an adjustment. He says, listen, we gotta tithe. We gotta release the best first. We gotta tithe. I want the protection. I want the unlimited prosperity. We are walking in a millionaire's consciousness. As a millionaire, you're going to need protection. You're going to need divine protection, and you want unlimited prosperity. As millionaires, we must constantly always be tithing. We want to always release our best and our first. We always want to be able to not have to think about anything. Why? Because we understand the divine principle. So now Joshua gives thanks because he has been victorious in battle. Once he released the tithe, they were able to go in and capture Ai. They built an altar and begin to give peace offerings, burnt offerings, and money offerings to God. They begin to give thanks. Because there's something about the power of gratitude, giving thanks, releasing a gratitude of thanks, to say thank you. Because after you release that tithe, you know that your situation, your circumstance is going to be changed. You know that whatever situation or circumstance that you're in, there's going to be an alteration done. There's going to be a changing of what took place or what you're going on, what you have been embedded in, what you have been entangled in. there's going to be a transformation that's going to take place. And so at that point, you now find yourself saying, I'm just going to give a gratitude of thanks. Thank you, God, in me for allowing me to be, do, and have all that my heart desires. Thank you, God, in me, because now that I've released that tithe, my situation and my circumstance now is going to be changed. I'm in a situation where I don't have the money for the rent or I don't have the money for the car note, but because I released the tithe, now I understand that all my needs will be supplied here and now. Because I was able now to come into a place of consciousness where I was able not to be afraid, but I was now to stand victorious and begin to accept my good. The tithe changes your situation and your circumstance. It changes the outcome. It allows you to always be protected. You see, once they released the tithe, they went back in and got AI. They went back in and got it. They now had the divine protection. Now that they had the divine protection, they also have the unlimited prosperity now. Once you have the unlimited prosperity, you'll start seeing things really open up and really come into focus. Prosperity consciousness, prosperity mindset. You are constantly walking in a millionaire's consciousness. Malachi said you will receive the kind of unlimited prosperity that's fit for a millionaire. He says that he will be your shield and exceeding great reward. The power of tithing. You know what tithing does too? See, when you operate in the tithe, what you're telling the universe is, I got it. Because when you give, you're giving, you're telling the universe that I have, so I'm giving. And once you give, the universe now allows to multiply, to bring back circulation back to you 100-fold of what you released. You can't afford not to tithe. Because tithing is what keeps you operating, is what keeps doors opening, more streams of income, more connections, more networking, more of your net worth. It protects your family. It protects your household. So now, after we've done that, we give thanks. We give thanks for our situation being changed. We're in a better place and a better time. We're in a better state of mind. We're not emotionally stressed. We're not in lack, loss, or any limitation. So we give thanks. Another reminder that after our prayer has been answered, after our situation has been altered, after there's been a shift, we always want to remember God by giving thanks. We never want it to be said that we did not give thanks. We see here in our journey in this chapter, we took the defeat because of Achan had stolen the stuff and he wasn't supposed to take it. He was murdered. His possessions were taken. We understand that. We then realized that Joshua was out of balance. He was perplexed. He was confused because they're on a high right now. They're really moving into a great level of consciousness, and for something like that to happen, it kind of really threw them off and said, "Wait a minute, what's going on?" Because this wasn't according to the plan. They begin to tithe. They begin to make the shift. They learned that you can't cheat God without cheating yourself. When you withhold your good, you also destroy your own. They learned that putting God first financially through the art of divine tithing, prosperity, the prosperity principle of tithing, of a tenth of all that you receive, will straighten out and adjust every phase of your life. That tithing, it sealed the victory and made it permanent. When you begin to look at your life and where you are now, how many of us can actually tithe right now and say, I need to tithe. I need to change my situation. I need to change my circumstance. There's no greater time as the present. I told you last week that we are in the month, this month of July is a month of expansion and elevation. The month of July, Spirit gave it to me. This is the month of elevation and the month of expansion. As you begin to expand and elevate in consciousness, there's going to be such a great level of protection and unlimited prosperity that comes to those who want to tithe. Find the place that you want to release your tithe. Make sure it's good ground, whether it be the Temple of Enlightenment, whether it be Awakening Light, whether it be your local church, whatever it is that you're going to sow and tithe into, just make sure that it's good ground and make sure that you release it, not the least or the last, but make sure that it's your first and your best. And as you release it, we'll see God elevating and expanding like never before. I got to tell you, my life when this is over with, I'm going to tell you guys such great testimony of the things that have been happening to me. I've been writing in my journal and putting things down. Listen, since we've been working on this Millionaire of the Bible series, so many wonderful things have been unfolding and happening. So many of you are moving and elevating in consciousness of millionaires in the financial sector as far as investing. And so, it's ironic. I had a conversation with an investor this week, and he told me, he said, one of the things about becoming a millionaire is, he says, millionaires don't work for money. Their money works for them. I said, okay. He said, poor people, they spend money. He said, the middle class people, they save money. He said, but millionaires invest money. They let their money work for them. And when we begin to go into it, I told him, man, I'm working on this millionaires consciousness every Sunday. We're teaching out of the Millionaires of the Bible. And he says, yeah, man, when you become a millionaire, your money starts to work for you. You don't work for the money. Money works for you. And I'm thinking now that as we begin to tithe and move into a great level of tithing, what happens is we elevate now that we get that divine protection, but then we also get the unlimited prosperity, which means that we get that unlimited source that money will continue to work for us. The ideas, the concepts, connecting with the right people, putting our money in the right investments, joining the right financial institutions, the right financial groups that we come together with that can help us and propel us to put us in the right place in the right time. So as Joshua was able to adjust his situation and his circumstance, he didn't give up. He didn't throw in the towel. He didn't say, oh, man, we got defeated. It's over. We're never going to make it. He now begins to go back to God and says, I need direction. I don't know what to do. What happened? When he found out what happened, he said, wait a minute. I believe that we serve a God of exits. We can exit out of this situation. No matter what situation that you think you're stuck in, what situation that you're facing, there is always a way out. You're in a health situation and they told you there's nothing that you can do. There is always a way out. There's always a way. And if there is no way, you create a way. You make a way out of no way. How do you make a way out of no way? By tithing. Tithing is the way. So we want to thank you for being a part of this call on this great Sunday morning. I am ecstatic, elated, encouraged about your future. All of our millionaires who are listening on this call, if you're listening to this call right now, you are a millionaire. I speak it into existence that the millionaire conscious will fall on you, that you will begin to dream, have dreams that would allow you to move and elevate and unfold your life as a millionaire, that you will begin to get thoughts of prosperity, that the laws of prosperity, the anointing of money, the money anointing, the millionaire's anointing will begin to fall on you, and you will begin to expand your consciousness like never before. We speak it into existence that every millionaire listening to this call, that you will begin to go forth and allow money to chase you and money to come to you hand over fist, that money will begin to come to you from the north, south, east, and the west, that you will have more money than you need, more money to pay bills, more money to live, more money to enjoy, because you are following and operating in your millionaire's consciousness. We speak it into existence. I want to thank you for tuning in to this call. We always work with our circulation, and as we work with the circulation, what we're going to be doing is we are working with what we call the millionaire seed, which is the seed of $37. That seed of $37 is a seed that has to do with self-expression. It has to do with the ability of tapping into the divine, to be able to redevelop, to redesign your life, right? To make the adjustment, right? And what happens is when you sow that millionaire seed, what you're saying is, I'm now operating and moving into a millionaire's consciousness. You start thinking like a millionaire. You start talking like a millionaire. You start walking like a millionaire. You start living like a millionaire. Why? Because you are operating in a millionaire's consciousness. Things that didn't matter to you start to matter. Things that you used to never paid attention to start becoming prominent in your life. You begin to see things that you never saw before, hear things that you didn't hear. The millionaire's consciousness will begin to develop and unfold in you like never before. So we are working with the millionaire seed. I want to thank you, those of you that have been contributing and being a part of this great call. We want to thank you. We have started our Google ads, and we're doing some tests that are turning out to run very well. I'm actually we're actually testing the Millionaire series right now with ads, and we're getting some good responses. So we are actually, we are excited about what's happening, what's going on, about these teachings that we're getting involved in, these teachings that are mind-changing, life-renewing, that are helping people get to their millionaire consciousness to elevate and move in life where they need to go. But this month in July, I have declared and decreed it that it is the month of expansion and the month of elevation. So I speak it into existence that those of you who are listening to my voice, that you will begin to elevate and expand financially, that you will elevate and expand in your millionaire consciousness. We speak it into existence, and so it is. I want to thank you, those of you that are going to sow the $37 millionaire seed. You can sow it on Cash App, which is going to be $TOE We also have our PayPal, which is going to be Issachar Bey, ISSACHARBEY @gmail.com. We also have Zelle, which is going to be at Issachar Bey, ISSACHAR -Bey, BEY. And then we also have, Venmo. Venmo is going to be at Issachar -Bey. And then Zelle is going to be IssacharBey @gmail.com. So we have the 4 ways you can give, which is Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, and Zelle. Those are the 4 ways that you can put your $37 millionaire seed. Those of you that want to tithe, if you want to release your tithe and you say, I want to tithe my situation to change it, I want to be able to give the 10, you can do so as well. This is good ground. We want to thank you for tapping into and embracing the millionaire's consciousness. I would love to hear from you guys on your journey and how your life has been changing and really evolving as you've been applying and utilizing these prosperity precepts, concepts, golden nuggets, these principles that you've been learning. How has your life unfolded? I would love to hear your testimonials, your praise reports on how things have transpired and changed in your life. And so we want to thank you, and I want you guys to embrace this month of July. I want you to write down what is your expansion and elevation as we get ready to move into that. We're going to see some great things happening. I'm excited about it. I think that where we're moving to now is a place where we are becoming secure in our consciousness of who we are. And as we're going to walk and operate in a millionaire's consciousness, we are going to be moving into a different plateau. And you have to realize, too, that when you're operating in a millionaire's consciousness and you're shifting from a consciousness that you never had before and you're elevating into this, the shift can be uncomfortable. The shift can be it can be fearful at some point because you're moving into the unknown. You're moving into an area of things that you haven't seen or done before, so it can be very difficult. But I want to let you know on how some things have transpired and how you can move into that place that you want to be. Remember, at a millionaire status, we're no longer chasing money. Money is coming to us. We are then utilizing, showing our money how to work, whether it's stocks, whether it's financial, other financial principles and other financial tools that we can use to build wealth. And so there's so many people that are aligned in our community that we can connect with, and like-mindedness and millionaire consciousness, that we can all come together and utilize these principles. So I want to thank all of you for being a part of this call. Look forward to Wednesday night. We're going to be getting into our lessons in wisdom Wednesday night at 9 p.m., the same number here. And the Wednesday nights have been phenomenal, and we're looking forward to having you guys on. Thank you once again for tuning in to the Millionaires of the Bible series. We ask that you share it, let people know, go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, like, and share. Help us get the word out. Thank you for tuning in. Before we leave, I'd like to say this one thing. Your destiny is not a matter of chance, but it's a matter of choice. Thank you. Until we meet again.